The streaming service Max reverted back to its original name recently, HBO Max. I, for one, have never stopped calling it HBO Max. Well, actually, me and my household have always just called the service HBO, even if whatever we want to watch on the service is not an HBO original. Me or someone else in my household will go like, oh yeah, that show or movie is streaming on HBO. And that's why cutting HBO from the service's name was a stupid idea from the get-go, because HBO is an extremely iconic brand that is ingrained in the minds of millions and millions and millions of people, and for decades at this point the brand has been synonymous with good television, so it holds that baggage as well. And back when the service was called HBO Max the first time around, it was far and away my favorite streaming service. One, several HBO shows are among my favorite shows of all time. The Sopranos, my personal favorite show of all time. The Wire, True Detective, seasons 1 and 3 really. 6 Feet Under, Boardwalk Empire, Curb Your Enthusiasm, The Deuce, and there are quite a few other HBO shows I have seen and really, really enjoyed. But aside from the HBO stuff, the service was essentially a hub for at least nearly all Warner Brothers content, and I loved the vast catalog of shows and movies the service had to offer. But then that was destroyed when the merger with Discovery happened. You started seeing a lot of garbage reality TV enter the service, like 90 Day Fiancé or My 1,000 Pound Life or whatever the fuck that shit is called. And you know what? In a vacuum, I wouldn't mind that. Discovery merged with Warner Brothers, all of that garbage TV are now Warner Brothers properties. HBO Max was, like I said, a hub for all Warner Brothers content, so regardless of how terrible the new incoming content was, that content entering the platform still did make sense. And at the end of the day, I could just choose to not watch the Discovery content and choose to instead watch the content on the platform that I already enjoyed. But that's also when the content purges began to happen. Many shows and movies began leaving the platform. For example, Cartoon Network content was pretty much decimated off the platform, which sucked for me because I liked watching some Cartoon Network shows on HBO Max. In general, a lot of the content that I and many other people who subscribed to the service enjoyed, and was the reason why we were even using the service to begin with, began being substituted out for reality TV garbage that no one using the service asked for, all in the name of licensing the content you removed off the platform to other streaming services, or, in many instances, a lot of the content removed off of HBO Max are not on any alternative streaming services. Warner Brothers and Discovery are essentially holding these properties hostage and are going like, nah, you can't watch these anymore. Unless, of course, you buy those shows and movies individually, or, sail the seven seas, if you know what I'm alluding to. Okay, jokes and euphemisms aside, is it any fucking wonder why people turn to piracy in wake of bullshit like this? You subscribe to a streaming service with no guarantee that the content you want to watch will stay on said service, and then one day that content is taken off, you may have to subscribe to another streaming service to watch that content again, if you're not already subscribed to that other streaming service. And if you don't like it, well, tough shit. We had to have our executives and shareholders make even more money at the expense of your convenience. And yet these mega corporations are so shocked that you don't want to continue to pay for their service, where they hack away at the content that was already provided on said service, and yet they continue to raise the subscription fee, and so you resort to not so legal means of watching their content. Corporate greed fucking ruins everything. The concept of these streaming services are great. No more watching cable that has thousands of channels you can't give a fuck less about. You have to sit through commercials, and you may have to wait until a certain time for when whatever show or movie you want to watch begins airing. And streaming services initially seemed like a breath of fresh air from that. One place where a lot of the content you want to watch is provided, and you can watch said content at any time at your demand. But now we have so many different fucking streaming services that all want to squeeze you dry, while you own none of the content, and that content can leave at any time. So because you own nothing and content can be ripped away from you at any time, what the fuck is the point in paying for all of these different different streaming services. Initially, the draw for these services was the convenience. Again, one streaming service where a lot of the content you want to see is provided, like Netflix or HBO Max when they began. But then that facade of convenience is eventually ripped away, and before you know it, you have to subscribe to like 10 different fucking streaming services if you want to see all of the content you want to watch. So yes, I suppose it's cool that HBO Max will be, well, HBO Max again, and that Warner Brothers and Discovery realized that rebrand from a few years ago was fucking stupid. But will the service truly be HBO Max again? The great service it was before the Discovery merger. Of course it won't. You're still going to see a lot of the same shit that I just talked about perpetuate on the platform, while the executives, the shareholders, and the dumbass CEO, Zaslav, count their money while looking down at you laughing and saying you will own nothing and be happy. A lot of the Discovery content has either already been taken off the platform or is in the middle of being taken off the platform, and I personally won't shed any tears. But a lot of the animation and content in general that people want back on the platform, still gone. In fact, a lot of the animation that is still on the platform is being removed. Because for whatever reason, Discovery has a throbbing hate boner for animation. You're continuing to pay for increasingly less and less content. HBO Max in name only is what I'd like to consider this platform going forward. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Bye-bye.